It's time for the Bookie and the Bettor Show. If you're a sports fan, now it's time to play the odds and make every bet count. New episodes post every Thursday on your favorite streaming service. Now introducing Rob Kowalski, the Bookie, and Randy Wike, the Bettor.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Bookie and the Bettor Show. I'm your host, Robert Kowalski, joined once again by my friend and colleague, Randy Wike.
Hey, Rob. Thank you.
Nick's not here to join us today, but we'll hear from him a little bit later on. Obviously, he's got something to be said about moving on.
Yes,
he does. He'll probably have a few things to say, and whether or not he actually gets to speak about them here on this episode is yet to be determined. However, Randy, it is officially tournament time.
March Madness.
March Madness is here. Of course, we've had a wild amount of people arrive at the book at Baldini's. Still offering that parlay card. That's something that I wanted to make sure that was generated, and that's been out there for, since pretty much Monday night, and it's still good because
only buddy in town.
It's what it seems like here.
Yeah.
So do come on by. Obviously, we'll still have that card for you and many, many more, as obviously we've already rolled some results from their first day into Saturday and then, of course, Sundays.
Oh, what a sad day.
So let's talk about this sad day. I suppose if you're looking to back some teams, and I don't know if exactly we're talking about busting brackets yet, but at the very least, there are some first-round results that were not expected, Randy.
Well, obviously the Kentucky greatest win for Oakland, I think, probably in their college history. I know they beat Michigan a few years ago, 3 years ago, but this was a big win with the length that Kentucky had. And again, Oakland, I think, was 15 of 31 from three-point line.
Wild.
And traditionally for this year, they've been great at the free throw line. They were terrible at the free throw line yesterday. I think they were 50%. But a great win, probably the greatest win in the program. And again, we talk about transfers, the last few weeks.
Glad you brought this up.
They, Kentucky, Calipari likes the young kids, and then obviously they're one and done or two and done. I see he's come out publicly now last night and said he's going to reconsider how he does things. Do you think, how many times has Kentucky lost in the first 1, 2, or 3 rounds?
It's been a bit. You're right, Randy. If you go back, they have not had a lot of good success when it matters most in March. So the question here, of course, in this matchup is, what is the better solution? I mean, Oakland's got their juniors and seniors, 4-year starters, and it's a matchup against the NIL model of one and done. I don't know. Maybe Calipari might be interested in a different line of work after this, Randy?
Well, I can only imagine the Kentucky Blue Boosters are not happy this morning.
Of course not.
And obviously they control a lot, especially now with the NIL. I see some of the voices that have been popped up there from their True Blue Boosters, and they're not happy.
No. Well, I mean, it's going to be quite a bit of pondering over what could have been. Obviously, they didn't expect a first-round elimination, that's for sure. Some other teams that probably didn't expect first-round results going this way, obviously, NC State late last night took it to Texas Tech. They really actually opened it up towards the last few minutes of the first half, and then it just continued playing really strong ball on the inside and just had some really great defensive efforts over Texas Tech. Oregon, here's the funny thing, right? And when you're making these brackets, you should kind of take a look and see what our books are offering on point spreads, because sometimes those point spreads will tell you, actually, maybe the seeding is incorrect here. And this definitely was the case for Oregon as the 11th seed. They absolutely took it, with their result. And then, Randy, I suppose we can talk about the one that you're probably the most supportive of here. We talked about this last week. We talked about it even the morning of live on Fox 11. The Mountain West and just what caliber of play this whole circuit can perform with. Kind of a pick'em game. Nevada did open one very close to game time. It went all the way to 2 and even 2.5.
Oh, yeah.
So if you haven't seen, go ahead and watch it. We're not going to go ahead and show these lowlights. The Wolfpack obviously opened it up very late in the second half. I think it reached up to a 17-point lead. And then things went very sour. Dayton with a victory. They move on. Nevada does not. Randy, this is a safe place. I'll give you a few minutes here to.
Well, here's the first thing.
Lament.
Back to your points about some of these games and the upsets. When you get to the NCAA tournament, what teams want, even more than the seeding, is their opponent. They want good matchups. It's all about matchups. Okay. Nevada had a great matchup. I thought they matched up well with Dayton. You look at their big guy who's an All-American. I thought the Nevada guards would take over the game. First half, it kind of didn't happen. But what we did in the last 7 minutes and 21 seconds is beyond what I, as a fan and as a coach not at this level, would even want to think could happen. We got away from being aggressive. They're putting pressure on, and we're lackadaisically bringing the ball up. And, I don't want to throw out mud, but Blackshear was horrid. And, he turned the ball over 4 straight times. We have Coleman as a forward bringing the ball across the floor. He gets it stolen. Yep. And I think the turning point of the game, even though that Dayton had closed at that time, the ball gets swiped at. They have to dive on it. We waste a timeout, which could have been a setting tell for the last play of the game when we have a shot that I'm still trying to decide what happened. But we're taking 3-point shots from guys that don't take 3-point shots. We're making lackadaisical passes. Blackshear had no sense of urgency. And again, I don't want to throw mud, but that's what this game's all about. And to not get Lucas the ball, and granted, the first half they shut Lucas down. Second half, he went off. And then in the last 7:21, he's not getting the ball.
Who's responsible for all of those, Randy?
Well, again, this is the disappointing thing. Nevada had, I think, they were the second oldest team in the tournament. So they had some people that have been around a long time. So number one, the players should have played a little better, knowing that, hey, we're a veteran-laden team, we should be able to do it. But obviously it starts with the head coach. And the lack of discipline that I seen from this Nevada team yesterday concerns me.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because if you just mathematically play it out over the last 7.5 minutes, if Nevada simply walked the ball up and shot anything that you wanted to with 1 second left on the clock, whether you hit it or not, you still win the game. That's the other point that I brought up last night.
It's hard to pick on Nevada without going to the other side and say, hey, Dayton hit some long threes, big threes.
Right.
They miss a couple of those, Nevada still wins.
Okay, do you not think, though, just from sitting here thousands of miles away, that if you're down significantly, don't you think that the other program's going to do nothing but launch threes?
Oh, absolutely.
So maybe give them the layup?
And you knew they were going to have a run. I mean, this is a very good basketball team.
Well, all programs that are at this level will end up having a run.
And so you knew they were going to have a run. And that's the other thing it starts with the coaching. So you know that. I don't believe, again, we got bigs taking threes. We are taking off-balance shots. Again, if you want to regroup and have a timeout there and say, hey, you guys got to get your act together and design plays that you want these guys to run, because I've seen a lot of freelancing. That's the other thing that concerns me from a team that has so many seniors that have been there before. Again, we had 4 of them. I thought Himes, and I will publicly say this, was horrible. And he's been horrible the last few games. He picked up 2 quick fouls. I think he's fouled out of 3 of the last 4. You can't have that when you get into the tournament. And again, not having McIntosh again really hurt us, because I think he could have rotated him in. We got to win a little smaller. Plus, McIntosh is a great shooter. So I'm disappointed. I really thought, obviously, when you have a 17-point lead, I'm looking at the next round, and it didn't happen. It's a disappointment. I see some of the news around that Mr. Alford, Oklahoma State's interested in him, so it'll be interesting to see what transpires there.
And then obviously for not only for the program, but for the Mountain West and just from a conference perspective, I mean, look, if New Mexico doesn't become the super sleeper that we think they are, then we could pretty much go ahead and just sign off and say, yeah, the Mountain West simply was just not a good program.
Well, I wanted to
bottom.
reconsider the under 4.5 wins for the Mountain. Now, I am last week telling Josh, I think we could have 2 teams get to the Sweet 16, maybe 3.
Yeah,
And
maybe you might not get 3 wins.
Yeah, well, this is the thing. I hate the NCAA to be right. Don't you? You hate for them to be right again. Because
sure.
with the seeding, they obviously felt Mount West still wasn't up to it.
Right, and here we are. Also, with some obviously not as well, I wouldn't probably think that they're happy with it, but the SEC, outside of Tennessee, really not having themselves a good start either. That is, however, just one day. So let's go and see how the rest of this.
It's all about matchups, especially in this first round. Matchups dictate, not seeding. It's matchups, and you talk to Coach K. We'll tell you it's matchups.
And so that's exactly why you could see some of these point spreads not correlating exactly to the way the seeds play themselves out. Randy, we will come back, obviously, probably towards the end of the show.
I'm thinking about not wearing my Wolfpack jacket anymore. I'm thinking about turn out the lights, the party's over.
I was going to allow that just because of the Wolfpack's results. So that's why I'm going to not even ask Chris to edit out any of these.
I'm sorry. Sorry, Chris.
No, that's perfectly fine. He's done an incredible job
I
for us.
I cried so much last night. I probably have bags today because I cried blue. I cried blue last night.
Speaking of blue, I want to move on to something, Randy, that's a very interesting topic that obviously involves bookies and bettors. And blue being the color of the Los Angeles Dodgers, there's some news that has come across that I'd like to report here on this show because it's quite relevant. Well, the Dodgers have fired interpreter Ippei Mizuhara. He's the interpreter for Shohei Ohtani.
I'm glad you could pronounce that because I could.
A lot of vowels.
Yeah, there's too many for me, especially in the morning.
However, he was fired Wednesday afternoon after questions surrounding at least $4.5 million in wire transfers sent from Ohtani's bank account to a bookmaking syndicate. And that set off a series of events. So it looks like there's been a federal investigation in Southern California, illegal bookmaking for a number of years now. They just so happen to come across Shohei Ohtani's name on some wires. And they start to question and say, this is odd. This is a person that's obviously a massively talented athlete, world renowned. Why is he involved in this? Well, Ippei, he's not only he's an interpreter for Ohtani, right? He's his longtime friend. And what's being reported is gambling debts to a Southern California bookmaking syndicate that is under federal investigation. And this is multiple sources telling ESPN. This is where I'm reading it from. And how he came to lose his job started with reporters asking questions about these wire transfers. So Randy, initially a spokesperson for Ohtani, told ESPN that the slugger had transferred the funds to cover Mizuhara's gambling debt. Nice friend, right?
Yeah. I need $4.5 million.
The spokesperson presented Mizuhara to ESPN for a 90-minute interview Tuesday night, during which Mizuhara laid out his account in great detail. However, as ESPN prepared to publish the story Wednesday, the spokesperson disavowed Mizuhara's account and said Ohtani's lawyers would issue a statement. This is not true. We don't want to even talk about it. Disavowed. Not accepting it for anything, not even one syllable. So in the course of responding to the recent media inquiries, they said they discovered that Shohei had been the victim of a massive theft and were turning the matter over to authorities, read the statement from his lawyers. Well, Randy, that's what's being reported. we know these are the facts. Sports betting is not legal in the state of California. No, nor has it been ever, right? There's many states, including our beautiful state here in Nevada, and many others that have since joined on since 2018. But California is not one of them. But that's where Ohtani's name has been appearing with a sports betting syndicate. And now Mizuhara is giving his account. That's being disavowed. I'm going to let you tell me. Go ahead and be the columnist here,
I want to
please.
be it's personal now. $4.5 million comes out of your account.
Yes.
You don't know about that until the very end. I mean, $4.5 million. Wouldn't you notice that? Now, granted, he's making a lot of money, but $4.5 million.
It's quite a chunk.
To not know about it and now say it's theft. I was laughing the other day before yesterday, when I first seen this story come out. A few years ago, they didn't want any professional sports in Las Vegas because they were worried about this very issue. Now, Vegas is the metropolis of everything.
Yes. So
now, obviously, you got the professional teams there, right there with books and everything else. Granted, this was done to a bookmaking system, but number one, I find it hard to believe that you don't know 4.5 million's missing without you being involved to a certain extent. That's number one. I think it could prove me wrong. But the morality of Major League Baseball and the Pete Rose scandal, it destroyed his life.
Yeah.
He denied it at first. And again, not betting so much initially on Cincinnati Reds and their performance, but betting on the horses, the dogs.
Sure.
That's how it supposedly got started. And then obviously you start betting on games that you're playing. I just don't know how this can come to fruition that Major League Baseball says, you know what, you're not right for this game. I mean, at some point. And he is a superstar.
So let me sit there for just a quick minute. One of two things is going to happen, right? Either it's Mizuhara, and they say, yep, he was gambling. He was the one that's in trouble and ended up needing a ton of money to cover these bets. And Ohtani, being the greatest friend ever, sent in the wires to cover it. Because, again, remember, we're talking about culture. This is actually a story in this episode about culture. Japanese culture is nothing like United States culture. We barely know anything about Shohei Ohtani. We barely knew anything about Ichiro, actually, Ichiro Suzuki. So, honestly, we just recently found out that he has a beautiful wife who actually is an accomplished, a very good basketball player. We know very, very little about his life.
Would somebody in Japan adopt me, please? Adopt me.
When you find out that something like this happens, and by the way, timing, right, for the FBI and the investigation to come out and report this as the regular season game between the Dodgers and the Padres is about to begin, and you're looking at Mizuhara and Ohtani in the dugout in the Republic of South Korea. That was when the first games were happening. Timing of that to drop exactly at that moment. So now you could see as everything starts to unfold, and that's why you're not seeing all of this really being reported here. But again, it's so fresh and new that we still are finding out more and more detail about this.
I really did. I thought the Republicans and Democrats had something to do with this, with the timing issue of Major League Baseball starting. I don't. Timing's never good. And again, I don't know where this information, how it got to its point where it's so late now, because they're going back 3 years, right?
Yes, multiple years.
So I just don't know how, and even with all the lawyers he's got, how you're going to escape if your name is written on these transfers and you signed it. How is that going to happen? Okay. They're going to find out. They're going to try to say that the surgery or the signatures were forged. I'm assuming. I'm just asking. And again, from the standpoint of how Major League Baseball feels about gambling.
No. Okay, good. So here, let me go ahead and just give you the final entree here. You have just heard the reports, right? You're starting to think and you're starting to come up with an opinion. Again, we don't know everything yet, but with what you see on the table, you now, Randy Wike, you're the commissioner of Major League Baseball. What are you doing?
I'm not drinking my coffee because I'll throw it up. With the power of a Shohei Ohtani from the media hype and obviously with the young kids. Major League Baseball is still about the young kids, and the young kids think this guy is a phenom, which he is.
And just wait till you think what Japan and the whole Pacific Rim thinks of him.
Yeah.
He's the Mount Rushmore all combined into one player.
The other question I have, and it's public domain, right? Do we know what this guy was? The Dodgers were paying him, because the Dodgers were paying him.
No, yeah, it's probably like, for example, David Sampson. David Sampson was the vice president of operations for the Miami Marlins. So he clearly so this is actually not an Ohtani thing, but yeah, whatever was for Mizuhara, whatever that pay was that Ohtani said this is how much you have to pay him, you pay him and you don't vet him. David Sampson, who was the vice president of the Miami Marlins, when Ichiro came to the Marlins, he says, "Okay, I'd love to play here, but here's my interpreter, and his salary's $400,000 a year." And David Sampson said, "Yep, all right, here you go. Here's the check," and
that's
never vetted him.
Let's say it's $350,000.
Fine.
So on top of the $4.5 million, he's probably spent all of his money betting.
Probably.
I'm just assuming.
That's fair enough.
So so the situation's even worse because he's obviously got a gambling problem. I mean, he's betting soccer, right?
I have no idea what they said they were betting.
I thought the other night they said soccer and girls basketball was prominent in that mix. So as Major League Baseball and Manfred is probably saying right now, we need to do whatever we can to try to keep this down in the media to get baseball started next week. That, to me, you know what I mean?
Yes.
Because that will disrupt the viewing audience even more, or there'll be more scuttlebutt as you want to open the season. So I think that's his first issue, and probably the people that are with him. The other issue is obviously from the moral side, and already having the Pete Rose scandal. He's got to do something to get to the bottom of this fairly quick.
It's legal to bet sports in many states and jurisdictions, right? We know that for a fact. The state of California is not one of them. That's the problem. So I'm going to just ask this final question about this topic, and I'm going to move on to something else. Is Ohtani betting and Mizuhara's the fall guy saying, "Yep, I got a horrible gambling problem. It's me, and Ohtani's paying for me"? Or is Mizuhara actually really into gambling on his own and just having Ohtani cover the bets?
Well, and it goes back to the original the entry statement here. This guy must have been a great friend if he can get into his account.
One way or another, we've got a story of friends.
So I still say, if I've got $4.5 million missing from my account, I'm going to, number one, I don't want the world to know it. And number two, I'm checking that to see where my balance is. I don't know. And again, like you say, we don't have all the facts. But right now, for me, as an insider or outsider looking in, I can't believe he didn't know some of this was going on. And again, I could be totally off base.
Very good. We definitely will see an awful lot more on this, and we'll definitely bring this one back because it's clearly a significant finding. And I'd like to see where this goes.
Would somebody adopt me in Japan? I'm yours. I don't need $4.5 million. Please, if we got friendships like that over there, I need to have a true friend or have a family take me in.
You'll also need to learn Japanese.
Well, I'm learning.
Interpretation.
I'm going to start today.
Randy, some football talk. Not much, but I've got a couple of thoughts here. It seems as if in football, as we've talked about over how many episodes, all it takes is a quarterback and a real head coach. Houston attempted to fail miserably. And the Texans did just do that. And they still ruined their way into a draft and somehow ended up with C.J. Stroud with a great head coach. And now they look like they're perennially going to be there for division,
Very true.
For many, many years to come. Perhaps, just maybe, we overvalued how much a quarterback is worth. I didn't think Justin Fields would go for this little. I actually thought Justin Fields was going to be the starting quarterback for the Bears. And so now he's gone. A thought here about him actually now with Pittsburgh. It's quite the crowded room. Give me the over-under on total number of games started for the Pittsburgh Steelers by Justin Fields, Randy.
Well, and to that point, obviously the Pittsburgh organization and Tomlin thinks that their big trade isn't going to be the trade of the future.
Okay.
We know the age of Russell Wilson. So in their minds, I'm thinking they know that they needed a good backup because he's going to be the future real quick.
Okay.
Real quick. Because obviously cap room and everything else they've got going on within the organization. I think after 7, if you're going to make a change, you need to make it before the 9th game. You at that mid-season, if you're going to change, you need to do it then. I don't think Russell lasts 7 games. I think the final 9-10 games, whatever, and how many ever if they do make the playoffs, is going to be Justin Fields.
Pretty wild, Randy, because I had 8.5 as a number that jumped in my head when I looked at that quarterback room for Justin Fields' number of starts. So funny how you land on that number exactly where I was looking as well. Couple other signings that I wanted to.
And one big thing here. Now, if all the media hype that you see about this is there's no competition.
Yes.
And Justin Fields is happy to be the backup?
Yes.
I'm not buying that.
Neither am I. Neither am I.
Shohei, we have another story.
Randy, some more signings. Hollywood Brown to the Kansas City Chiefs. Thoughts?
Well, obviously from the standpoint, the Chiefs, when they get these picks and trades, they turn out golden. There's a lot of hype with him. How does he fit in?
A lot of dropped balls as well, but
absolutely. And he's injury prone right now.
I think that when you look at this signing, he clearly has the ability to blow the top off the pop quite better than MVS. So I think right off of that, that's an improvement just off of that.
Well, again, I go back to the Super Bowl with the Rams. He was there, right? I think he was going to get MVP, and he gets hurt. The guy at the point he's at, though, another 3 or 4 years down the road, I don't know about the pickup, but it seems like the Chiefs turn everything into gold. And obviously, when you got a Mahomes, let him scramble. He can get loose. Because again, a DB and a safety and a linebacker is not going to be able to stay up with these guys very long. And Mahomes is phenomenal.
And we haven't even gotten to the NFL draft, which is coming up at the end of April. So a lot more still from there. One more, Randy. New York Jets signing former Charger wide receiver Mike Williams. Thoughts on that signing?
Well, I have been a Mike Williams fan. Again, the injuries in
Yes.
L.A., San Diego, L.A., have hurt him. And I think really hurt maybe the money side of it as well, because teams didn't want to take a chance on. He's a great receiver. He's got length. I really believe now, again, given another option, if Aaron can stay healthy, I'm telling you, the Jets are up there. This puts this receiving core up with the best teams.
Yes, it does. I agree with you as well. It's going to take a bit of luck here. The Jets have to stay very healthy. But if they stay very healthy, Randy, no joke, they could have one of the best offenses in the league.
Without a doubt. And when they announced this the other day, I said, holy moly. Because I really do believe with Mike Williams' length, he is going to be, if he can stay healthy, I think he's going to be one of the top wide receivers this coming year in the NFL.
Stay tuned for that and more. And now, of course, Randy, as we wrap up this wonderful episode, I see you've brought a prop here for those of you listening in. Thank you, by the way, for listening in on Spotify and wherever else you get your podcasts. And for those of you watching here on YouTube, thank you. If you haven't liked and subscribed us yet, please do so. As Randy dons a, it definitely looks like well, first off, it's a very healthy violet shade with a golden top. It's a wonderful chapeau, and I think we're going to have a prediction here as we're wrapping up our episode. And of course, Randy, you did win your wager from last week. So did Nick Schulte. And as a matter of fact, wait a second here. Do I actually see here my phone ringing? I think I do. Nick? Yes. Okay. It definitely looks like it. For those of you listening, okay, very good. I do have his pick. It is confirmed. Everyone's watching me here, so you can see that the phone is actually live, and I am picking up your pick. I do have it, but Randy, thank you.
Wait a minute. I still wanted to go back. His pick isn't BYU going to the Final Four, is it?
No. That was given.
I believe that was one of them.
Nick did give BYU to make it to the Final Four.
Turn out the lights, the party's over.
There's the second one. Randy, you now have the opportunity to move up to ladder step number 2. Swami Wike, what will be your pick to roll over into ladder step number 2?
I really had, yesterday, honey, don't look at our bank account. I put your name on some things for a transfer of funds right up there with Shohei. I lost quite a bit of money yesterday, and I'm going to leave it at that because you take the chalks, you get in trouble. Kansas, yesterday, Rob, to get back to that, blew a 21-point lead. So
they escaped with a win, however.
So, honey, yes. I brought this out today because today's a new day. I figure something's got to change. So Swami Wike is, and I talked to a buddy of mine, TC, who today is, he's begging me to bet Wisconsin because he's from Milwaukee Cheesehead country. I like James Madison. TC, you changed my mind with this, buddy. I don't know. I like Marquette today, but that's a big chalk. And Randy Wike didn't do well with the big chalks yesterday. I love New Mexico. But Swami, and I had to think this over really strong, folks. Swami's going with Texas A&M today.
I'm actually stunned at all of this, actually. So Texas A&M, in their first round game, this game is being played, of course, in Memphis. It is a 3:50 p.m. Pacific start time here at the Book of Baldini's, and you selected a game that's at Pick'em. And so all you need to do is...
No, is it a Pick'em now?
Win by 1.
Okay.
And that is exactly all you'll need to do to advance from step level.
Well, I was thinking about taking the money line at +1 even, but...
This is a Pick'em minus 110 selection for you.
Okay. Well, the Swami has made his prediction. But I'm telling you, folks, and I know I didn't do well with Mountain West on day 1, but watch out for New Mexico or San Diego State going to the Sweet 16.
I'm actually shocked that you're not picking New Mexico here today. It's simply put on a plate. It's already warm. You have your carving knife in front of you as a 2-point favorite. I got to tell you, if I ever came out of retirement to make a pick, it would be on New Mexico today. I don't think that Clemson's...
And again, when you have the day I had and you look at the Mountain West so far, you're thinking, what could happen?
You got skittish. I got it. Very good. So, Randy Wike's selection. This game is at 3:50 p.m. at the Book at Baldini's. Texas A&M as a pick'em.
Please don't let the Swami down, please.
Over Nebraska. This game being played in Memphis, Tennessee today. And then Randy, so that one's locked in. So wishing you luck here to move on from step ladder number 2 to 3.
I'm curious. Did Nick take BYU?
He did not take BYU because BYU lost.
Oh, of course they did.
He can't take them. Instead, he's going to roll over his pick onto Florida. Florida also a pick'em. at Indianapolis. This game is being played at the Gainbridge Fieldhouse.
He's taking
hosting
who now?
Colorado, Florida, the Gators. The Gators are Nick's pick. You can't listen. He is simply running parallel with you. You can go ahead and trash it all you want. He's not here to defend himself.
I'm going to
I
trash
hung
it.
up the phone.
They've got 9 injuries on this team right now.
All you need is one very hot shooter, though.
Turn out the lights, the party's over.
I think I can't think of a better way to end the episode on that. Thank you again for listening in. Do join us again every single week as we come out with more discussions, talks, news, and hopefully some successful picks for you all. Thanks again for joining us here at the Bookie and Bettor Show. From the Book of Baldini's, I'm Robert Kowalski, Randy Wike.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
Thank you for listening to the Bookie and the Bettor Show. New episodes post every Thursday on your favorite streaming service.